There are so many names on this list, and you mentioned size a lot and
Yeah.
athleticism, but I'm curious, is there any quality that you look for in each of these guys that,
Yeah.
when you recruit them, they have to have X?
Yeah, I think for us, especially this year, especially being year 3 and kind of doing a deep dive of first 2 years and good, bad, guys that really love football. I think that was number one, and then kids that are academically that they're doing really well academically. That's important to them. I mean, you saw that in the high, especially the high school kids. Guys that were either committed to Rice or committed to Tulsa, and we're able to get over here. So I think getting smart, tough guys that love football was something that was really important to us, moving forward. Yep.
You talk a little bit about the new coaches, people you brought in.
Yeah. Got to remember it all. That's kind of like, obviously Tanner Burns, special teams coordinator. Start with him. Somebody I worked with at Arkansas, and his dad, coach's kid. Dad was the head coach at Tulsa at one point in time, and longtime DC at Arkansas, and Southern Cal, all these kind of good places, and so just very similar to me and kind of the way we think. Great evaluator. The kids are going to play extremely hard for him. Just someone that I think we're very fortunate to get, to be perfectly honest with you. Really appreciate Don and Kelly stepping up and being able to get him and getting him here. So I think he's going to be a home run, and just a great person, great family. Becca, his wife, and got 2 kids, and his wife's got a great story. Maybe dive into that when you get some spare time. But someone that's overcome cancer multiple times, and just a great family, and really are like family to me. So really excited to get Tanner here. Offensively, Landon Keppel, someone that's been with me at Hawaii. He played at Tulsa, but we didn't play together. Was with me at Hawaii as kind of like a senior analyst. Come to UIW, call him, bring him over there with me, and same type deal, kind of that senior analyst type role. Bring him here to Texas State, and just someone that I think nowadays, especially, this gets overlooked, and so I'm glad I'm able to talk about it a little bit. This guy was an OC in college at the Division II level, coach's kid. His dad was the head coach, and wanted a shot at Division I, right? So he goes to Hawaii, and as a QC analyst living in Hawaii, probably making no money at all, right? They move him to an ops position, really excels at the ops position. Coach Graham gets fired. Bring him to UIW, and he's basically a volunteer coach at UIW, living in San Antonio with a wife and 2 kids, and get the Texas State job, same thing, able to pay him a little bit more, but same thing, got a wife and 2 kids, commuted from San Antonio almost 45 minutes every day for 2 years, and just somebody that when you look at all these young coaches nowadays, they want titles and they want money and they want all this, and then you got a guy like himself that's got a family, 2 kids, and just really put in his time and put in the hours, and super sharp coach, really detail oriented, could coach quarterbacks, could coach receivers, could coach running backs, could coach tight ends, really could coach any position on offense, and someone I really trust, and someone that I think will work really well together, just because we know each other, and he thinks the way I think, and not just because of our time together, but the time he spent with Coach Graham, and some of the things that we do, and the training and mindset and culture and all that. So he was a no-brainer. It was one of those deals where it was a pretty seamless transition, and I thought we worked really well together in the bowl game. Now there's some things we got to knock off the rust and that whole deal, and kind of figure out where this thing's going to go. And that was the craziest thing about the bowl game too, is like O-line, some of the, you think you can just go on there and run the same plays, but with Nash not being there and Harkey not being there, it kind of changed some dynamics, as far as that goes, and then not having Cole, so that was a little bit different. But man, I thought Landon did a really good job. Me and him in the bowl game, kind of working together and kind of figuring out what we want this thing to look like. But just a great coach, and another coach's kid, great family, and someone that did it the hard way. Nothing was given to him. So really excited about Landon. Randy Martinez. Obviously I hired him as the director of recruiting I guess that was 2 years ago, from Duncanville High School, and it was pretty early on, like, all right, this guy's a stud. He really helped us recruiting that first year, and Coach Carthel stole him away from us at SFA and made him the SFA running backs coach, and just following him on social media and following him, kind of the way he builds relationships and what he does for those kids. I just think he's pretty special. He's got a real gift, and so same type deal. I tried to get him back before last year, one of those type deals. But I think him getting to be able to run his own room was really important, and so I was able to get him back and work with the receivers, and he's done a great job so far, and he's a big time coach, and so really excited about Randy. Anybody else coaching wise that I'm missing? Oh, Dane Evans. So he'll kind of take over Landon's role and work with the quarterbacks, and that'll give Landon the ability to kind of move around if he needs to, kind of be a walk around guy, and he'll handle the quarterbacks, me, him, and Dane kind of in the spring, and then let Landon be able to walk around if needed, because I think Dane is a big time guy. I think obviously he played at Tulsa, career passing leader and touchdowns and all that kind of good stuff, and then went off and got a shot with the Eagles in training camp. And I remember him playing really well in training camp with Doug and those guys, and then went off to Canada and played multiple years there, and won a starting job and Grey Cup, and same thing, kind of did it the hard way, and got a wife, 2 kids, and great family, coach's kid. And he worked for Owasso High School this past year, and Bill Blankenship speaks really highly of him, and just someone I helped. We didn't play together, but I helped recruit him when I was there. So someone that I've known for a long time and followed his career, and just someone I think it's going to be kind of one of those rising stars, fast risers, and kind of really take off and probably be a OC in waiting type situation. I think he can really really coach and knows the game really well, and just when you play the quarterback position, it's just especially at a high level, it's just different. So he's been awesome so far, and really excited to get him here with us.
3 quarterbacks coming in from the transfer portal. You already have Brad Jackson here as
Yep.
well. Obviously, it's an open competition in that position. What's that going to look like, and how much concern is there about somebody at the end of the spring that might transfer out? Is there any reassurance to give these guys hey, you'll get your shot eventually, even if it's not right away? How does that work with all these quarterbacks?
I also have the high school kid that we signed. Yeah. So, I think just this day and age of college football, let's compete and see what happens. I'm not necessarily concerned about that, and about guys leaving and all that. We're going to bring them in here. We're going to compete our butt off and see which one's the best one. And like I said, I am high on Brad, but I'm high on these other guys too. I think they've all shown something that they can get the job done. So we'll see kind of what that looks like, and see how they lead the team. And so far so good. Just got some really good guys in there. But yeah.
Is there anybody in this transfer portal that you're particularly excited about, and just kind of wanting to see what they can do, and you think could be a
Kind of a breakout guy?
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, I think some of the offensive linemen that we signed, I know that's not probably the sexy answer, but I think we really hit on some of those guys. So probably the O-line.
It's because you found him on the transfer portal Zillow?
Not all those guys. Not all those guys. Going back to some of these high school kids like Amir Ross and Big Kirk from Temple, man, that O-line room, I like those guys.
How's that transfer portal Zillow?
Oh yeah. Well, I'll show you. I'll show you one day. We'll get up there. Yeah.
Give me a login?
Yeah. No, can't get you a login, but. No, it's really cool, and there's all kinds of different ones. We use coaching by the numbers and all that kind of good stuff, but there's different filters and so I really like the analytics part of it and kind of seeing all that kind of good stuff. So I get on there and So I'm just in there grinding away, and you can go from that coaching by the number. So like all these kids put out like their highlights and stuff, like transfer highlights. Nobody's watching that. Nobody's watching. None of us are watching that. I've never watched a transfer highlight. Maybe if they haven't played before, like and they don't have any PFF, then we got to watch practice highlights. But I'm not much into that. I'd rather like so you go to their stuff, like you click their whatever the Zillow Realtor.com, and you filter and you go through all this stuff, and then boom, you can watch it pulls up their Twitter, their Instagram, their high school track numbers, whatever they have like that's known out there in the cloud, and you click on their stuff and you can watch it, and you can there's a link to their PFF, so you go to their PFF and then you can watch all their pass rush, you can watch all their if it's a receiver, all their targets, all their there's all kinds of information out there you can watch and look at. So that's something that and the PFF always tells the truth. Like you find a guy and you like him, and then you go to the PFF and those key plays, there's good ones and there's bad ones, right, too. So you got to go in there and really look at it and be able to, that's why it's like those guys that have played a lot, it's man, they're just super valuable.
You have a bunch of early enrollees, and of course some of these are transfer guys,
Yeah.
so that's different. But of the high school guys, how do you target who is going to be a mid-year enrollee and why?
Yeah, I think that's a really good. You've asked two really good questions. I think moving forward, I think that's going to be something that we put I don't even know the word for, but we're going to really try to target those guys that can enroll early, because it's so important for us now with the transfer portal and roster management and all that, like getting these guys here in the spring to start that development process, like a Blake Isbell that got here from Coppell, and his like he's gonna have a chance to play because he's here in the spring. Like that's so important now, and knowing if the guy's gonna be here or not, and so we're gonna target that more. And even if a kid maybe wasn't planning on that, like you get them committed in June, like hey man, we want you to graduate early. Like do everything possible to graduate early so we can get you here. And obviously, okay, coach, I'm gonna enjoy my senior year. I want to play baseball, whatever. Like it's fine. Like it's not gonna hurt them. But at the same time, it really does. It's beneficial to both parties if they can graduate early, I think.
With having so many new guys coming in for the spring, and also from what you've had, coming from last year's team, just what's going to be the focus going into spring practice, especially when you have, a lot of new offensive coaches on this staff this year?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of focus in a lot of different areas, but I think really letting Coach Youth get in there and work with those guys, that's kind of where we're at right now in this phase, and just really create that toughness and buy-in, and I think that's the most important thing right now for us doing that. The football stuff is really, I know we've talked about it before, like it's not that complicated, really. It's really not. So I think the more important thing for us is bringing these guys together and focus on the culture part of it, and the toughness mentally and physically, and then just bringing them together and getting out there. I'm excited about this team, maybe more than any other team. Maybe not, obviously we had a ton of talent last year, but just the group of guys that we have in there and the way they're working right now, I think, I'm just really excited about it. And just get out there in the field and kind of see, maybe because there is going to be so much competition, where last year, like obviously there's always competition, but you kind of know, a lot of these spots, like, all right, Josh Eaton and Terry, like, you kind of know where a lot of these guys, like a Alex Harkey kind of came out of nowhere last year and really came, like I think we have a couple of those guys at different spots throughout the roster that I'm excited about to kind of see, like, oh yeah, we think really highly of this guy, but obviously now you got to go out there and do it on the field. So I think that's where I'm excited about with this group is just kind of the potential of some of the guys that we had, or maybe like you talked about a Jake Simpson. Now this is year 3 for him. He's had a guy like Connor in front of him to kind of learn from, and now he's 6'5", 250, and like, man, this guy looks like NFL tight end. All right, let's go out there and do it. So that's what I'm excited about. I think we're gonna have to coach our butt off this year to go win some ball games. So I'm excited about that part of it.
Going back to Tanner, he just got promoted at Auburn. So
Yeah.
did you have to turn on like your salesman switch, or are you guys just that good of friends that it wasn't a hard sell to pull away from that?
Yeah, then that'd be probably something you'll have to ask him. All those things. But yeah, I think the relationship part of it and was huge for Tanner, and I think for us, like I think we do. We kind of live in our bubble a little bit. It takes a state, at least I do. And then when you kind of get out there now and you go to these coaches convention, there's a lot of momentum around the program right now, and people like that, and so I think that might have had something to do with it too. Just the national attention and kind of where this thing is going, and people want to come be a part of it.
Coach, now that season's over, and last season, finally had to take some time to evaluate everything.
Yeah.
What did you learn from that? What can you take from it moving forward?
I think probably the biggest kind of takeaway, and obviously you're super hard on yourself and figuring out good and bad, and I think we did some really good things, and we some things that we're going to change and overhaul, moving forward. But I think for whatever reason, the ball didn't really roll our way in a couple of games, and so you have to figure out why that didn't happen. And I think that some of that can be addressed in the off season, the way we're training, and not necessarily what Coach Huth is doing, but just kind of the mindset a little bit. And then I think some of it, is scheme wise that we can continue to get better at, and I think for me there's a lot of things I need to get better at. So I think every area, it's on everybody, coaches, the good and the bad, everyone in the program. So I think it's just constant evaluating and constant, how we can get better, and some things that we did really well that we need to continue, that maybe we changed throughout the season, and some things that, you look back and be like, man, we weren't very good in that area. How can we fix it? And so I think we've done a really good job, and we're continuing to do that, and evaluating. And I think always scheme-wise has to be predicated off who you have on your roster. So I think, going through the spring, that's another thing I'm really excited about. As far as the football part of it, some things we can get better at, it will be determined by the roster and personnel. So I'm excited to kind of see what that looks like when you get out there.